Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Three topics for today, but actually is only one, and that is China will not bow down to the United States of America anymore. What changed? A lot of things changed, and we're gonna talk about those things in this video. First, the tariffs. Second, war. Third, Ukraine war. And then Putin-Xi Jinping connection. I said this from the get-go. Trump's attempt to impose anything to Russia is close to impossible in the current situation, which is militarily you are tangled in Ukraine and you can't beat Russia with all your NATO and the European Union. So that shows. Secondly, when you try economically to attack China, China doesn't need you anymore. You can't threaten them with anything anymore. China is strong enough, big enough, and in a mood of a feisty mood to fend itself. So you have nothing to threaten China. We have here the tariffs. Some say the Chinese violated the tariffs. The Chinese claim that the Americans violated the tariffs. Trump comes out and says, well, I guess it's tough to deal and make a deal with Xi Jinping. Of course it is. Now, more than before. Why? The other side is stronger. Remember that song, I Shot the Sheriff? Grow it, kill it before it grows. The same here. It's too late. It grew. China is there with India, with Russia, with many other countries. They're already in a new organization, unlike Al Capone's plantation. So, the Americans are preparing war in Taiwan. Well, we're going to discuss that too, because it seems like the guys in the Pentagon are itching for a little war in the Far East, now that in Europe they have one. They ignite things and then they pull back. And then when they lose or they destroy, they move somewhere else. All right, let's start with the first topic and the first article from BBC. This is from 5 days ago. I'm going to go kind of chronologically. China trade talks have stalled. U.S. Treasury Secretary says. Of course they did. They don't bulge to your threats anymore. Second, Trump explodes over China deal breach, rare earths and tariffs back on the table. This is from May 30th. All right, so this is 4 days ago. All right, let's go. What happened here? Let's put the situation as it is. United States, unfortunately, lost its edge into, hey, I'm going to withdraw this from you, my investments from you, and you're going to be dying. No. Interdependency, the globalist idea, which is we decide on the Chinese to build or to make our, let's say, antibiotics or our, toilet paper. So if we get in a trade war with them and those guys decide, you know what, we're not going to send you antibiotics anymore. What aren't you going to send us? Telephones? Computers? Remember, you need the antibiotics more than we need your little computers. And we can build some not as good, but you have to start building your antibiotics from scratch. And I'm talking only about that. Why? I do things, you don't. I produce things, you don't. So if I cut off, you die like flies. So that's why the Americans have no chance. No chance into real war with China. Economic war. Besides, there's two different mentalities. And I have to say it. You might not like it. These guys are here in the West are much more, I'm being nice, much more spoiled than the Chinese. That is, when they don't have a Coca-Cola, and if the Coca-Cola is not cold, okay, so imagine that you don't have food for about 3 days. These guys are going to be like zombies. That's how they're going to be. Now, a Chinese, it doesn't have Coca-Cola, doesn't give a fuck. If it doesn't, and the Coca-Cola is not cold, doesn't give a fuck. It's a different mentality. Why? Because they start with not having. These guys, it's always it hurts more for being taken a thing away from you than not being given. So if you give me tomorrow, let's say a Bentley, and I drive it for a few days, and you say, Emil, that's it, baby doll, Bentley back. After I put my ass on that little, okay, the pain is gonna be greater than saying, Emil, no Bentley for you to start with. You didn't lose anything. You didn't have it in the first place. So that's why if the Americans are taking something, that they already had for generations, you're going to be like, oh my God, the other guys just got Coca-Cola, I don't know, 20 years ago. I'm just exaggerating. So that's the whole point. Those guys have a different mentality. If you tell the Chinese to cut it, they will cut it. You tell the Americans to cut it, oh no! All right, I'm exaggerating, I'm generalizing, but you know what I mean. I can't be too direct here. So when these guys are saying, oh, we're going to fight economic, you have no chance. Those guys are producing, we are not. What are going to withdraw your investments? Withdraw them. When is China going to feel that? In, I don't know, 8 months? By 8 months, United States will be, aside from the immigrants who are used to, we don't have shit. All right, let's move to the next one. The immigrants will be the last ones. All right, remember, rough environment creates rough people. Strong organisms are created by harsh environment. That's a reality. Here in the United States of America, we have a very sheltered environment, abnormal environment. It's sheltered versus other countries. Anyway, let's move on. I can talk all hours and hours. Now, next one. China hits back at Trump after claims it is violating truce because Trump explodes over that. And then again, these guys said, we're not going to give you rare earths, and that's it. And then we need it. So again, who's in charge? We have not only resources, but we produce things. U.S. President Donald Trump has accused China of violating a truce on tariffs struck earlier this month, a claim China has responded to with its own accusations of U.S. wrongdoing. All right. Beijing's response on Friday did not address the U.S. claims directly, but urged the U.S. to shut the fuck up, to cease discriminatory restrictions against China. Next one. BBC. China says U.S. has severely violated tariffs truce. This is 2 days ago. So we're coming to this. China says U.S. has severely violated the trade truce and that it will take strong measure to defend its interest. Now that's tough, isn't it? Right here. This is from the Telegraph. Trump rocked as China launches its latest economic weapon. All right. When or if Donald Trump gets on the phone with Xi Jinping, the tone between the two men is likely to be frosty. The US and China have in recent days both accused each other of violating their fragile 3-week-old trade truce. The two presidents are expected to speak this week in an effort to rescue the deal. It's okay. Putin will visit Beijing, my friends, will visit China. But Trump has a tough pill to swallow. It is his arch rival who looks to have the better negotiating hand. Critical minerals are one of the most important bargaining chip for China. In its negotiations with Washington, China will really hold on to this as a significant point of leverage. Got it? And we have here China's near total dominance of world's supply of rare earth metals, which are used in the manufacture, what are you producing, condoms, of everything from cars and computer chips to F-35 fighter jets and nuclear-powered submarines, means Xi can squeeze the US where it hurts. No, I would go with antibiotics, toilet paper, and all. Did you see? Do you remember? I want you to fucking remember this. When that COVID pandemic was. Remember what happened when they say, it's a pandemic? What the brave Americans did? They went to the store and bought, some of them, all the toilet paper. All the toilet paper. And you were like, God damn, toilet paper. And then, where's the toilet paper? Here's your toilet paper and the water. That's it. This is the Americans. They got ready for war. Some of them, I know them. They still have toilet paper from then. I know them personally. No name mentioned. Anyway, and others, but that's the brave guys. So let's start with those things, with the immediate needs, not with F-16s, F-35s, and submarines. Fuck that shit. I mean, remember, but these are BBC. They're trying to go like this, as they do. Next one. Bloomberg. Trump says China's Xi is extremely hard to make a deal with. I wonder why. What changed? I tell you what changed. Putin to visit China for World War III, I was about to say. Victory in Asia celebrations. Shoigu. Got it? Now you understand why this guy is not negotiating, including the fact that this is the way it is, my friend. China has the resources and gets the energy to produce from the Russians. They have the technology. Maybe they're not as advanced as we are. And I covered that one, but they're not baboons. So it's a big market on this planet that the Chinese goods that they produce could be dispersed at a much lower price than these guys produce in America without sanctions and threats and blackmail. That's a reality. Remember, how do you manufacture things? You need the raw materials, you need the know-how, and you need the manpower. The technological, if you have the know-how. You need these things. So the Chinese have all these things. Energy, cheap from Russia. The raw materials, cheap. Manpower, cheap. And they have the know-how. So their produce, let's say these glasses, they can sell it with $5. Let's say this is made in America. You have an expensive labor. You have an expensive raw material. And you have the know-how. So then your glass will be at least 5 times, I'm exaggerating, or 10 times more expensive than the Chinese. Yours, let's give it to you, could be a little bit better quality. But if the regular person is not going to pay $2,000 for this, but will pay probably $100, you understand? So you're going to go out of business as an American business trying to compete with the Chinese. Cheap raw materials, cheap labor force, and the know-how is right there. So what are you going to do? Well, with the small countries, you can threaten them, you can blackmail them, you can impose sanctions on them, you can try regime change, and you can invade them. With China, niet. All right? Or the Chinese say, kru. Kru means no in China. In Chinese. All right, let's go to the next one. So he's fucked, basically. That's what it is. Next one. Who holds all the cards, Mr. Trump? Or maybe not all, but I would say 90% of the cards are in China's little claw. Ding! Right there, not in the Americans' hooves. All right, and here you go, the same garbage. We are under attack. Pentagon chief warns China is preparing to use military force in Asia. The same shit. We can't compete, we're gonna destroy. And you know how we're gonna destroy? We have to react. Because we are the force of the good, and we intervene where we see the evil. And we defend and we destroy. And then, that's the beauty of it. We reconstruct it. With our banks or international banks and with our companies. It's been done like this, my friends. Next one. The Telegraph. How the US plans to fight off Chinese invasion of their own Taiwan. Interesting, right? So how the US plans, and here we have some guys, they're gonna fight. So the Americans are gonna fight off invasion? So they're preparing you to understand that the Chinese have this imperialistic view, which I think they will once they are releasing their past frustrations, and that is they've been kicked in the teeth for so many years. So by the little Western countries that remember got in China and kicked them around. And the Chinese remember that one. So it's going to be their turn pretty soon, unfortunately. I fear for those times. Why? So the Americans are going to defend Taiwan. They can't fucking fight in Ukraine. They're going to fight in Ukraine, in Taiwan. And here it is. Chinese invasion of Taiwan imminent, warns US chief. Whatever. So it's imminent. What are you going to do? Are you going to get in a war with China militarily? You and the NATO tried to destroy Russia, and you failed so far. That's Russia's victory. Not falling, not faltering, not being destroyed. That's their victory. It's not the other way around. Russia wanted to take over Ukraine. That's baboonish. The cards are the other way. The story is like this. Those guys wanted to destroy China too, Russia, and they tried that in Ukraine, little by little. The Russia says, we're going to smack you. And these guys are like, we're going to defend Ukraine because we always intervene with a little guy. We're going to help and bring democracy and freedom. See how they brought democracy and freedom in Ukraine in 2014? When it was that coup d'etat organized by traitors with foreign help, that's traitors of a legitimate government. They recognized not the Democrats, the guys who organized the coup. Look how they recognized the Syrian reformed jihadist. Trump shakes hands with him. What are you talking about? And I can go with Pinochet. Do you want me to? Saddam was our friend when they fought the Iranians, remember? Saddam Hussein had chemical weapons from whom? I'm guessing. I'm not guessing. I know exactly from whom. I don't want to go to Mr. MBS, Master Bullshit, Mr. Mohammed bin Salman, and others. So we don't care. You don't care. As long as those guys are let it be. So now it's China's turn. You have no chance doing anything to China because those guys are with these guys. So here you have Putin to visit China for World War II victory in Asia celebrations. Beijing traditionally marks Japan's 1945 surrender, which is, I think it's September 2nd, with commemorations in September. Oh yeah, yes it is. All right, so he's gonna go to China. What does that tell you, my friends? It's too late. Kill it before it grows. Too late. It is big over there. He went to the gym and bam, bam, bam. Right now he's just bring it on, baby doll. Bring it on. And you can't. What are you going to do to China? That's why China is hard to deal with Xi Jinping. Remember when Trump said, I'm just going to make 24 hours, I'm going to call Zelensky, I'm going to call Putin, and everybody's going to be okay because everything took a shit. Why? He's not in charge. Someone else is in charge. First, and the second one, well, I can talk with Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping, my friend. Remember how he squeezed the Chinese in between 2016 and 2020? Remember? With the farmers and the steel? Oh, you don't know? Okay, so he made the Chinese invest, and again, with tariffs, I don't know, like 20 billion or something. And then when the imbecile Biden came in, was pushed into over there, they destroyed everything with the Chinese. He was able then, but it was then. Now things changed. The Chinese were like, oh, so the Russians cannot be destroyed. That means we cannot be destroyed. Why? Because we are allied. We're allies. And economically the same. Energy comes from Russia. I wonder what's going to happen when the Ukrainians will blow up the pipelines between Russia and China. I wonder when that, with oil and gas, I wonder when that's going to happen. That would be a nuclear attack and retaliation or something, because I suspect that will happen. Why do you think these guys blew up those airplanes with the little drones in Siberia? They're getting closer, but it's easier to go from Alaska over there than go from Europe. You know what I mean? That's going to happen. What's going to happen? Nobody will know why. But I don't think they will do that, because that's on Russian territory. But the point is, what are you going to do, Russia, when that happened? What are you going to do? The point is, you have to go to it's the final countdown. Yeah, exactly. It's the final countdown to what exactly? You know? That's a declaration of war. Go and look at your doctrine. You know what kind of doctrine? Unfortunately, and these guys are pushing it. They don't care. They don't care. Remember Thomas Malthus? Yeah, okay. So the population, the control of population, the same here. You can't. You have too many. Sometimes you have too many. You have to bring something up, like a pandemic, like a few wars down here, and you just get these guys out. You make others, and so on. Thank you very much for that. But it's a new kind of eugenics, it seems like. Not even that, because it's not the strong who survive. As I said, this shelter society is promoting weakness, weak people. They allow, and I'm not promoting the Spartan way of, this doesn't look right, kid. Boom. I'm not promoting that, but if you want to have a strong society, you have to have the right education, the right policies. Otherwise, you're going to have a weak society, which doesn't have Coca-Cola. We're going to come and, all right? And you want to fight the what? The Russians, the Chinese? Get the fuck. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.